It was supposed to be a match between two of the best teams in the world, South American Champions Argentina and European Champions Spain. But events in the Middle East have changed everything. Here's the story why La Finalissima has been cancelled. So the Finalissima, or Finalissima, however you want to call it, is an intercontinental competition which is organised between UEFA, the European football governing body, and CONMEBOL, the South American football governing body. It is played between the winners of the Copa America in South America and the winners of the European Championships. Argentina have played in the last two, but this isn't to be confused with their World Cup victory in 2022. It is their Copa America victory, which is why they were in it. Now, it's still a relatively refreshed competition, and by that I mean the first in many years was held in 2022, before Argentina's victory in the World Cup. It had previously been played in 1985 and 1993, and I don't think anyone was annoyed when it was brought back, because it gave us an opportunity for us to see two top teams from Europe and South America play each other in a competitive fixture, which of course only really happens once every 4 years during the World Cup. You may remember that Argentina beat Italy 3-0 in that fixture, which was played at Wembley Stadium in London. So if that one was played in Wembley and this one has been cancelled, what led to this? Well, firstly, it's important to note that the game was due to be played in the Lusail Stadium in Doha in Qatar. Once again, this stadium actually has a bit of relevance to the story, because this is where Argentina won the World Cup in 2022, where they beat France on penalties in the final. So they've got good memories from the ground. But not this time. As we all know, last month in February, war broke out in Iran. Now, we won't go into the details of this war because this is a footballing channel, but if we bring ourselves back to the early days of the war, Iran had been sending and firing drone strikes across the region, and some of these were hitting Qatar. Now, like I say, we're not going to go into the details of that, but in relation to this story, that is a crucial aspect, because you had, in less than a month's time at that point, a major final between two of the best footballing teams in the world, some of the best football players in the world, due to be played in a country that had found itself in the firing line of a war zone. So this obviously meant that security measures had to be quickly analysed to see if the match was going to be able to go ahead. Now, UEFA were quick to say that the match shouldn't be played in Qatar, and that was a general agreement amongst many of the authorities. Now, it's important to note that football wasn't the only sport affected by this conflict, with the Formula 1 races in Bahrain and Qatar also cancelled due to the ongoing strikes. So the two footballing bodies were forced to quickly look for an alternative. But with less than a month to go before the game was meant to take place, this was anything from ideal. You know, we aren't just talking about rearranging a game from a Saturday to a Tuesday night, which happens a lot in football, especially in the league systems. We're talking about a game that was due to be played in the Middle East between a country from South America and a country from Europe. Think about the logistics of that, the fans, the teams. This was essentially a nightmare scenario for all involved. Now, one of the venues that was firstly suggested was Wembley Stadium, like we mentioned, that hosted the Finalissima 4 years prior. But unfortunately for the two sides and supporters of them as well, England were due to play Uruguay at Wembley Stadium on the exact same day when the Finalissima had been scheduled. But this is where a slight bit of controversy appeared between the two nations, because one of the proposals made by UEFA was that the final should be played in the Santiago Bernabéu in Madrid. I mean, what a stadium to play a final in. As a neutral, you would look at that and go, you cannot have a better ground to host a final. Real Madrid playing there every week in front of like 90,000 people. You could fit so many fans in, and it would be a great occasion. But understandably for the Argentines, they said, well, hang on a second. This might be a bit unfair, the fact that we were meant to play in a neutral venue and suddenly we're playing this final in the capital of the country we're playing against. Something doesn't seem right in this regards. Now, it's worth saying that UEFA did say that there would be a 50-50 split on ticket allocations. But given the last minute nature of it, and I'm aware there's a lot of people from Argentina who live in Spain, but it could be fair to say, if you're a fan from Argentina, that on this front, it was an unfair advantage that could have been given to Spain if they played in a stadium in their capital. But for the sake of balance, I know I'm wearing this Argentina shirt, but I've got the two shirts here for a bit of balance. And given that lack of time to organise the match after an event that was completely out of their control, you could say that it was actually a fairly reasonable decision to suggest the Bernabeu, especially from UEFA's point of view. I mean, a lot of the players already play in Europe, so you wouldn't have had to factor in that long travel. So it did make sense if you look at it from their point of view. So, to put it bluntly, the Argentinian Football Association said no to the plan to play in the Bernabeu. But there was another suggestion, and that would be to actually make the Finalissima a two-legged tie. One would be in the Bernabeu, as had been suggested before, and the second leg could be played in Buenos Aires. Now, this could be seen as some wishful thinking. I mean, if we're struggling to have one game in one venue for the Finalissima, how are we then going to organise a game on another continent and then somehow make it a two-legged fixture? Does this get too complicated? You have to think about the players, you have to think about the travel, you have to think about even the Spanish fans. Like, there's probably actually, on the flip side of the other point, there's probably more Argentinians in Europe that could easily travel to the Bernabeu than there are Spanish people in Argentina who could travel to Buenos Aires. So this just created a whole list of problems as well, where for the neutral, once again, would I like to see Spain play in that stadium in front of a packed Argentine crowd? Yeah, it'd be unreal, it'd be brilliant, but you can't see like everyone getting on board with that, which is why, once again, this suggestion was rejected. And there was as well a suggestion that the game could be played later in the year, especially after the World Cup, but both of these teams have already got fixtures announced, and that also meant that they couldn't fit in an extra game. So without a stadium, with time ticking down, there was only one thing that the football authorities thought could happen, and that would be just to simply cancel the match. And that's basically where we're at the moment. The game has been completely cancelled, and there has been a bit of war of words breaking out between the Spanish and the Argentines, as could probably be expected, as both probably wanted to play the game, feel like the other didn't agree to the conditions that could have been possible.
Well, I think everyone, I mean all of you here, you've heard of me from the very first moment the news broke that this Finalissima was going to be played, what my disposition was to play it.
And in quite hilarious fashion, actually, this war of words is basically both of the sides saying that the other ones didn't show up. And the president of the South American footballing body has said that because Spain didn't show up, that Argentina are now two-time champions of the Finalissima. This is one way to do it. I mean, you could say that you're the champions. I know a lot of people from Argentina, and I know that they like to win, but I'm not sure they're even going to be on board with this kind of speak of they're suddenly the champions of competition that didn't even get to get played. But the Spanish, as we heard, they're also in the same thinking process that it's the other team, it's them who didn't want to play. So this has turned into more of a game of words rather than a game of football, which is a shame, but I think in the end of the day, like, it just comes back to a scenario where the war in the Middle East caused this. Like, not one of these parties caused this, and the controversy that we're seeing surrounding this is essentially just a result of something that is out of everyone's hands. So probably the only thing I could say to these two teams is just a bit of calma, right? Everyone calm down. Organise the game next year and we can all watch a great game of football. Will Messi be there? I don't know, but it will be a great game of football. Now, this has been another video from the Partido. Like I say, it's a shame we may not see this game played, but I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. Important point to make here is that there will be a channel announcement in the coming days. I'm going to be trying to upload more content, but there will be a big change. So stay tuned for that one. And as we always say here, nos vemos in the next video.